You were hospitalized. Why didn't you contact me? Her tone was cold, like she was questioning a subordinate who had left their post without permission. I lay on the hospital bed, without even the strength to look at her. If I told you, would you have come? I asked. She paused for a moment. Am I not already here now? I smiled. The doctor flipped through my medical records and frowned. Your shoulder injury isn't minor. It's best to continue observation. No need, I said. I raised my eyes to look at her, my tone calm. I don't have family. If I die, there's no one waiting to be notified. Chapter 01. The private ward was very quiet, so quiet that I could hear the steady drip of the floor. Drop by drop. The curtains were an off-white color, clearly expensive, making no sound when drawn. The air carried a mix of disinfectant and floral fragrance. The nurses replaced fresh flowers every day, saying it helped patients recover emotionally. But I didn't have much emotion to recover. I lay there, staring at the ceiling. My left shoulder was wrapped in thick bandages, and even the slightest movement pulled at the bone with sharp pain. The doctor said I was lucky. If the angle had been even slightly off, it wouldn't have been just a simple hospitalization. When the door was pushed open, I didn't turn my head. The footsteps were light, yet unmistakably present. High heels tapped against the floor in a steady rhythm, as if someone was deliberately controlling their pace, not wanting to appear rushed. I knew who had come. Evelyn, my wife. She stood at the doorway for a moment without immediately approaching. I could see her silhouette reflected in the glass, upright posture, shoulders straight, as if she had just walked out of a meeting room. She wore a tailored designer jacket, clean in color and sharp in cut, with a delicate brooch pinned at the collar. I didn't recognize the brand, but I knew it had to be expensive. Her makeup was flawless, even her eyeliner was crisp, without a single unnecessary stroke. She had always been like this. In 3 years of marriage, she had never appeared in front of me looking anything less than composed. Matthew. She called my name, her tone steady, without extra emotion. I didn't respond. She took a few steps closer, standing beside the hospital bed, looking down at me. That gaze reminded me of returned merchandise in a store, not anger, but inspection, as if confirming what had gone wrong. You were hospitalized. Why didn't you contact me? She asked it naturally, as if completing a necessary procedure. I still didn't look at her. Instead, I reached out and pressed the call button by the bed. A nurse came in quickly. I said to her, "Could you please call my attending physician?" Evelyn was clearly taken aback. Her brows knit slightly. The doctor arrived shortly after, checked my condition, then flipped through the records again, speaking cautiously. "Sir, your current condition isn't suitable for immediate discharge. You'll need at least a few more days of observation." "I want to be discharged now," I said. The doctor hesitated and glanced at Evelyn. She stood there with her arms naturally at her sides, offering no response, as if waiting for me to explain. But I had no intention of explaining. "But your injury," the doctor tried to persuade me further. "I don't have family," I interrupted, my tone calm. "If something happens, there's no one who needs to be notified." The room fell silent for 2 seconds after those words. Evelyn's expression finally changed. Not guilt, not concern, but a stiff offense, as if she had been personally affronted. She clearly hadn't expected me to say that, let alone say it in front of others. "Matthew," she lowered her voice, "is there any point in saying something like that right now?" Only then did I turn my head and glance at her. Her eyes were beautiful, clear, sharp, carrying the confidence of someone long accustomed to authority. The first time I met her, it was those eyes that drew me in. Back then, she had just been appointed vice president of the company, standing in the conference room with everyone watching her, including me. Now, looking again, she only felt like a stranger. "I'm stating a fact," I said. The doctor stood awkwardly at the side, clearly uncomfortable, and could only proceed with protocol. Handing over the discharge confirmation form, I took the pen and signed page after page. My movements were slow, but never paused. Evelyn stood beside me, saying nothing more. I could feel her gaze resting on my hand, on my name. It was the same name on our marriage certificate. She had signed many documents, but rarely ever looked at it carefully. After signing the last page, I handed the pen back. "That's all." The doctor nodded, gave a few instructions, and then left the room. Chapter 2. As soon as the door closed, the air instantly grew tense. "What are you trying to do?" She finally spoke, her tone laced with impatience. "You got hurt and didn't come to me, and now you're saying things like that in front of others. Are you trying to embarrass me?" I leaned back against the pillow, a dull ache spreading through my shoulder. "I'm not making a scene," I said. "It's just unnecessary." "Unnecessary?" She let out a cold laugh. "I'm your wife." "Yes," I nodded. "Legally." Her breathing faltered for a moment. Evelyn was the CEO of the group. She was used to people revolving around her, used to having everything under her control. To her, marriage was more like an arrangement already completed, not a relationship that required continuous effort. I had always known that. I had just been willing to wait. "When did it happen?" she asked. 3 months ago. She froze. 3 months. I didn't explain further. In those 3 months, she had been busy with acquisitions, financing, social engagements, and also with the man named Sean by her side. Sean, head of the marketing department, not very old, gentle in speech, good at listening to others. When she mentioned him, she always said he was meticulous in his work, emotionally stable, a rare and valuable collaborator. She never thought anything was wrong, and I never reminded her, "Why are you only telling me now?" There was finally a slight shift in her tone. "You're only here now," I replied. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. The room was left with only the faint hum of medical equipment. I threw off the blanket and got out of bed to pack my things. There wasn't much to pack, just a few changes of clothes and a phone. Evelyn stood where she was, watching me, as if realizing for the first time that I was really leaving. "Where are you going?" she asked. "Not home," I said. "Matthew," she called after me, her tone softening slightly. "Let's go back and talk." With my back to her, I pulled the door open. "There's nothing to talk about." The moment the door closed, I heard her remain where she stood. She didn't follow. The corridor lights were bright. I walked forward step by step, the pain in my shoulder sharp and real. Behind me, at the entrance of that expensive private ward, Evelyn was still standing there. For the first time, she realized that some things were no longer under her control. Chapter 3. It happened on a very ordinary night. I was originally just going to meet a client at an old factory district in the southern part of the city. That area had just been demolished, several streetlights were broken, and the ground was uneven and full of potholes. The client changed the time at the last minute, so I waited an extra 20 minutes. It was during those 20 minutes that something went wrong. Someone rammed into me from behind. I instinctively tried to block it, and my shoulder slammed hard against the guardrail. The sharp edge of the metal dug into my flesh. The sound was dull, not like an impact, more like a bone being forcibly pressed. When I fell to the ground, my first reaction wasn't pain, but that my phone had slipped out of my pocket. The screen was still lit. I crawled over, picked it up, my hands trembling. The first thing I did was call Evelyn. She was the only person that came to mind after I got hurt. The phone rang for a long time, so long that I began to wonder if I had dialed the wrong number. Just as I was about to call again, the call connected. It was noisy on her end, music, voices talking. "What is it?" Her voice came through the receiver, quick and efficient. "Something happened on my side," I said, leaning against the guardrail, my shoulder already going numb. "I might need you to come over." She went silent for a moment. That 1 second of pause, I heard it clearly. "I'm not available right now," she said. I didn't ask what she was doing. "Is it serious?" she asked again. I glanced down at my shoulder. Blood had already soaked through part of my clothes. "I might need to go to the hospital," I said. Someone was calling her name on her side. Very close. "Handle it yourself first," she said. "I can't leave right now." I opened my mouth. "Evelyn." The call was cut off. At the moment the screen went dark, I stared at the phone for a few seconds before realizing she really wasn't coming. I sat there for a long time before finally calling emergency services. In the ambulance, I sent her another message. Simple. "I'm at the hospital." No reply. At the hospital, a signature was needed. The nurse asked, "Where's your family?" I paused, then said, "Not here yet." She glanced at me, didn't ask further, and handed me the pen. I signed with my left hand. The handwriting was ugly. There was a long queue at the payment counter. I stood there as blood dripped from my sleeve onto the floor. Someone kindly pointed it out before I even noticed. Throughout the entire process, my phone remained silent. Before the surgery, the doctor asked if I had any allergies. I shook my head. Then he asked, "Leave a contact for your family." I gave him Evelyn's number. He nodded and said they would notify her once there was an update. I lay on the operating table, watching the overhead light turn on, but another scene surfaced in my mind. That morning, before I left the house, she had been in the dressing room trying on clothes. Sean stood beside her, handing her coats. They were standing close, speaking in low voices. When she saw me, her expression was completely natural. She only said, "I have a business engagement tonight. I might be back late." I had nodded at the time. It was only later that I found out that engagement had been arranged by Sean. Sean, the head of the marketing department, capable, well-spoken. Whenever Evelyn mentioned him, she always added, "He's emotionally stable." She liked people like that. When the surgery ended, it was already late at night. The doctor told me the bone wasn't broken, but the ligament injury was serious and required rest. I was wheeled back to the ward. The nurse helped me plug in my phone to charge. The moment the screen lit up, I instinctively checked it. No missed calls, no new messages. The next morning, I woke up early. Outside the ward window, the sky had just begun to brighten. Heavy gray clouds hanging low. My phone finally vibrated once. It was Evelyn. "Something came up last night. I didn't see your call. How are you now?" I stared at that line of text. my finger hovering over the screen. After a long time, I replied with just one sentence. I'm in the hospital. She didn't reply again. At noon, Sean called. His voice was, as always, gentle and concerned. I heard from Evelyn that you got injured. How are you? I was a bit surprised. How do you know? She mentioned it last night, he said. I wanted to come earlier, but I've had too many meetings today. I didn't respond. He continued, don't overthink it. She's been under a lot of pressure lately. I had heard that line more than once. The day before I was discharged, the doctor suggested I stay 2 more days for observation. I refused. The reason was simple. No one was waiting for me. While packing my things, I opened the emergency contact list. Evelyn's name was at the top. I stared at it for a few seconds, then tapped delete. A confirmation prompt popped up. I pressed confirm. At that moment, I felt no anger, no grievance, only a clear realization. In her life, I didn't even rank. It wasn't that she didn't care about anyone. She just didn't care about me. Chapter 4. When I walked out of the hospital, the sunlight felt a little blinding. I stood at the entrance and called a car for myself. My phone buzzed again. Evelyn sent a voice message. Once I'm done with this busy period, we'll have a proper talk. I didn't tap to listen. I slipped the phone back into my pocket. The sound of the car door closing was soft, yet it completely shut that period of time outside. On the day I was discharged, I didn't go home. The car stopped at the entrance of the residential complex. I paid, but told the driver to keep going. My shoulder still hurt, as if reminding me not to return to that place. I found a hotel near the company. The room wasn't big, but it was clean. The receptionist asked if I wanted to register an emergency contact. I said no. Only when the elevator doors closed did I realize that the tension I had been holding onto slowly began to loosen. The next day, I went to work as usual. My colleague saw the brace on my shoulder and asked what happened. I said I bumped into something by accident, and the topic ended there. No one pressed further, and I was glad for the quiet. Evelyn noticed something was off on the 3rd night. That day, I worked overtime until late. My phone vibrated several times. I didn't check it. Only after returning to the hotel and showering did I open it. 3 missed calls, all from her, and 1 message. Why haven't you come home these past 2 days? I looked at the line of text and didn't reply immediately. It wasn't that she didn't know I had been hospitalized. She had simply assumed that after discharge, I would go back on my own, like before, tidying up the house, waiting for her to show up when she had time. I didn't act according to her expectations. Half an hour later, she called again. I answered. Where are you? She asked directly. Out, I said. Where exactly is out? Her tone carried a hint of impatience. You're injured. Instead of staying home, why are you running around? I didn't explain. I've been busy these past few days. I didn't get to you. She continued. Don't be emotional. The moment she said that, I knew she still hadn't realized where the problem lay. I'm not, I said. She fell silent for a moment. Then what do you mean? It doesn't mean anything, I said. I just don't feel like going back for now. She seemed momentarily choked up, her voice lowering slightly. Come back first. We'll talk in person, another day. After hanging up, I set the phone aside. The next evening, as I returned to the hotel after work and had just stepped inside, I received a call from the property management. Sir, your wife is at home. She says she can't reach you. I acknowledged it and said I knew. She had still gone home. That apartment had been bought by her before marriage. The location was good, and the renovation was also her choice. When I moved in, everything had already been arranged. I had only put my clothes into the wardrobe. She always believed it was our home, but I knew clearly it was just her house, with me as an extra occupant. Evelyn discovered something was wrong when she opened the wardrobe. I knew her habits. The first thing she did when she got home was change clothes. She would tidy things up casually before going to shower. Half the wardrobe was empty. Not everything, just the few shirts I wore often, and an old coat. She stood in front of the wardrobe for a long time. She didn't call me immediately. Instead, she sent a message to Sean. Have you seen Matthew? Sean replied quickly. No. What's wrong? He's not coming home. Is he busy with work? That answer hit exactly what she believed. She had always thought that the center of my life was only work and her. Being busy with work was the most reasonable explanation. After her shower, she sat by the bed and called me again. This time, I didn't answer. She began to feel a little irritated. At noon the next day, she asked her assistant to pull up my schedule. The assistant looked at the records, hesitating slightly. Mr. Matthew hasn't been staying late at the office these past 2 days. He's been leaving on time. She frowned. Then where did he go at night? The assistant shook their head. For the first time, she realized that my whereabouts were no longer under her control. That evening, she left work early and went home. The house was quiet. Lights were on, one by one, but no one was there. She walked into the study and noticed the desk had been tidied. The pen I used most often was gone. Several old documents were missing from the drawer, materials from projects I had worked on before. She had never looked at them. She stood there, suddenly feeling an indescribable discomfort. That night, she didn't sleep well. The next day, she ran into Sean at the company. "You don't look too well." Sean glanced at her. "I'm fine," she said. He hesitated, then spoke anyway. "Is it about Matthew?" She looked at him. "You've been too busy lately," he said tactfully. "Give him some time." Time. Hearing that word from someone else suddenly tightened something in her chest. She was used to controlling the pace, only to realize that someone was slipping out of it. Chapter 5. That night, she called me again. I was sorting through documents. When I saw the incoming call, I didn't pick up immediately. She called 3 times in a row. I answered. "What exactly are you trying to do?" Her voice suppressed anger. "I'm not doing anything," I said. "You're not coming home. You're not answering calls. If this isn't making a scene, what is?" "I just haven't gone back to stay," I said. She took a deep breath. "About you getting injured, I admit I was negligent." It was the first time she had relented on this matter. "Once this busy period is over, I'll make it up to you." I didn't respond. The word compensate came so naturally to her, as if she were handling a delayed project. "Come back first," she said. "We'll see," I replied. There was silence on the other end for a few seconds. "Do you have someone else outside?" she suddenly asked. The question came out of nowhere. I paused for a moment, then laughed. "What do you think?" She didn't answer. At that moment, I could clearly feel it. She was starting to panic, not because I was injured, but because things were slipping beyond her judgment. After hanging up, I continued packing. On the table was an old photo, our wedding picture. I looked at it for a few seconds, then flipped it over and put it into the drawer. Late the next night, Evelyn returned home. She turned on the bedroom light. The bed was neatly made, as if no one had ever slept there. She walked into the living room, her gaze falling on the TV cabinet. The wedding photo that had been placed there, the frame was still there, but the picture was gone. At that moment, standing in the empty house, she realized for the first time, this wasn't a Cold War. I was truly leaving. Evelyn found me a week later. I had just gotten off work, stepping out of the office building. The sky was already dark. My shoulder had improved somewhat, but I still couldn't exert force. My movements unconsciously a half beat slower when I walked. Her car was parked by the roadside. Impossible to miss. The window rolled down. She sat in the driver's seat, her makeup flawless, as if she had just come out of a meeting room. "Get in." It wasn't a question, it was a habitual command. I stood where I was and didn't move. She looked at me, her brows slowly tightening, and finally got out of the car. "You plan to keep avoiding me like this?" she asked. "I'm not avoiding you," I said. "There's just no need to meet, Matthew." She lowered her voice. "We're married." She had said that many times before, in the past. Hearing it would make me instinctively take a step back. This time, it didn't. "You came to find me. What do you want to talk about?" I asked. She looked at me, as if assessing my attitude. "To make things clear," she said. "Put everything on the table." I nodded. "All right." There was a cafe nearby, not very crowded. When we sat down, the atmosphere was stiff. She ordered coffee. I ordered water. Only after the waiter left did she speak. "Your recent behavior is very irrational," she said. "Not coming home. Not communicating. This only makes things more complicated." I listened without interrupting. "About your injury, I admit I didn't rush over immediately," she continued. "But you should also understand that at the time, it wasn't something I could just walk away from." "What situation?" I asked. She paused. "A business engagement," she said. "With whom?" I asked again. Her gaze shifted away for a brief moment. "Sean," she said. "You know him too?" Chapter 6. I nodded. "He was in charge of coordinating with the client that day. A lot of things depended on him." She added, "It's not what you think." The moment she said that, I suddenly understood. Not what she explained, but the order in which she explained it. She explained Sean first, not me. "So you think I should understand?" I asked. She seemed a little impatient. "That's not what I mean." "Then what do you mean?" I looked at her. "You're sitting here now. Are you trying to tell me that your choice back then was reasonable?" She fell silent for a moment. "I just hope you don't take things to extremes," she said. "Extremes." The word came out of her mouth so lightly. I suddenly found it a little ridiculous. "The day I was hospitalized, when you received the call, did you hesitate?" I asked. She didn't answer immediately. "When you hung up, did you ever think about what situation I might have been in?" I asked again. Her lips pressed tightly together. "Matthew," she finally said, "there's no point in dwelling on this now." At that moment, something inside me snapped completely. It didn't hurt, it was a clarity so sharp it felt almost cold. "Answer me one question," I said. She looked at me. "That day, if it had been Sean instead, would you have gone?" I asked. Her expression changed. "Are you comparing?" She shot back. "Yes," I said. "I am." She was clearly displeased. "He's a work partner. It's different," she said. And you didn't clearly explain how serious it was that day. I let out a soft laugh. So in your mind, he matters more, because he's by your side, I said. And I'm not. Don't twist my words. Her voice turned cold. I haven't favored anyone. I looked at her, suddenly feeling how unfamiliar that statement sounded. Over the years of our marriage, she had rarely stood on my side, not because she deliberately ignored me, but because she had never considered it something that required choosing. Have you ever stood on my side? I asked. She froze. The question was simple, no accusation, no raised voice. Yet she couldn't answer. The coffee had already gone cold, but she hadn't taken a single sip. I waited a few seconds. She remained silent. At that moment, the last bit of expectation in my heart disappeared. I understand now, I said. She looked up. Understand what? Why you came today, I said. You're not here to apologize. She frowned. Then what do you think I came for? You came to confirm whether I would continue to obey, I said. Her expression darkened instantly. You're making me sound too selfish, she said. I didn't argue. Some things, once spoken, only become redundant. I stood up and pushed my chair back into place. Let's separate, I said. She suddenly looked up. What did you say? Separate, I repeated. Let's live apart for a while. Her fingers tightened around the cup. Do you even know what you're saying? She asked. I'm very clear, I said. You're going to divorce over something like this. There was finally emotion in her voice. It's not just this, I said. It's many things. She stood up. Her voice lowered. Calm down. I am calm, I said. That was the truth. I wasn't angry. I wasn't impulsive. I was just tired. You're injured right now. Your emotions are unstable, she said. Let's talk again after you recover. There's no need, I said. For the first time, panic appeared on her face. You can't do this, she said. This is just you running away. I looked at her. She rarely lost control like this. I'm not running away, I said. I'm ending this. The moment those words fell, she froze completely. She opened her mouth, as if trying to say something, but nothing came out. I picked up my coat and turned to leave. As I pushed the door open, I heard her call my name from behind. Her voice wasn't loud, but there was an unfamiliar urgency in it. I didn't turn back. As I stepped out of the cafe, the night wind brushed past me, my shoulder aching slightly, but I knew clearly, that wasn't the wound, it was me. Finally waking up. Chapter 7. After leaving the cafe that day, I didn't answer any more of Evelyn's calls. Not because I was deliberately avoiding her, there was simply no need. I set my phone to silent and went back to the hotel. The room was quiet. The neon lights outside stayed on all night, yet I slept deeply. The next morning, I went to work as usual. My shoulder had recovered enough not to affect basic movement. Though there was occasional soreness, the doctor had warned me to be careful during recovery, but I didn't take any more leave. Work helped keep me clear-headed. Evelyn showed up at the hotel entrance on the third night. The front desk called up and said a lady was looking for me. I acknowledged it and told them to let her up. When the doorbell rang, I was reading documents. She stood at the doorway, not wearing her usual sharp high heels. Her coat was a softer style, and her hair wasn't meticulously styled either. She seemed less distant than before. It was the first time she had appeared in front of me like this. Can I come in? She asked. I stepped aside. After entering, she stood near the door and glanced around the room. Not big, but tidy. You're staying here? She asked. For now, I said. She nodded, as if trying to accept the fact. I brought you something to eat. She placed the bag in her hand on the table. Your shoulder is still recovering. Don't keep eating takeout. I didn't move. She noticed, her fingers pausing slightly. I've adjusted my schedule recently, she said. For the next few days, I can leave work earlier. This was her usual approach. When she sensed things slipping out of control, she would first adjust her pace, then try to fix things. There's no need, I said. She looked up at me, a trace of confusion flashing in her eyes. Are you still angry? She asked. I'm not angry, I said. She stepped closer, her tone softening. Then why won't you come back? I didn't answer immediately. She continued. We've been married for so many years. Which couple hasn't had problems? If you keep doing this, you'll only make things worse for both of us. Her words were restrained, as if she was trying to position herself as someone rationally solving a problem. But she didn't realize, I was no longer standing in that position. What you're doing now is because you think I should forgive you, I said. She froze. That's not what I mean. She quickly denied. I think we still have room to fix this. You think? I repeated. She fell silent for a moment, then changed her wording. I know you've been wronged. It was the first time she used the word wronged. She walked up to me, reaching out as if to touch my shoulder, but her hand stopped midair. I'll change, she said. She said it seriously. If it were before, I might have believed her, but now, I only felt tired. Do you even know what you need to change? I asked. She opened her mouth, but didn't answer immediately. It's not that you don't have time, I continued. You just gave your time to people you think are more important. Her expression stiffened for a moment. As for Sean, I've already dealt with it, she said. I made it clear to him, we'll only keep a professional relationship from now on. That's your business, I said. She frowned. Isn't that enough? Whether it's enough isn't for you to decide, I said. A trace of urgency finally crept into her voice. Then what exactly do you want? I looked at her. She truly didn't understand. Or rather, she wasn't used to thinking from someone else's perspective. I don't want anything, I said. Chapter 8. Those words made her freeze. You're just delaying the problem, she said. I'm not delaying it, I said. It's already over. Her breathing became uneven. Don't be so absolute, she said. In your current state, it's easy to make decisions you'll regret. I didn't respond. She stood there for a while, then suddenly turned to unpack the food she had brought. She placed the containers on the table one by one, her movements slightly disordered. Eat something first, she said. You've lost weight. Her voice was soft, carrying a hint of pleading that even she didn't seem to notice. I still didn't move. Matthew, she finally couldn't hold it in anymore. Can you not be like this? Like what? I asked. Not talking, not responding, she said. This is worse than arguing. I looked at her. She was used to controlling the flow of conversation, used to using logic to suppress emotion. Now, she had lost that ability. You're lowering yourself now because you're afraid of losing me, I said. Her gaze flickered. But before this, you were never afraid, I continued. She was silent for a long time. I thought you would always be there, she said. That sentence slipped out like an unintentional truth. I nodded. Yes, I said. You always thought that. She suddenly looked up at me, her eyes slightly red. Then what do you mean now? She asked. I'm already gone, I said. Her emotions finally cracked. You can't just erase all these years with one sentence. I'm not erasing anything, I said. I've just walked out of it. She stood there, looking at me, as if seeing me for the first time. That night, she didn't stay. Before leaving, she turned back and looked at me. You'll regret this, she said, but there was no confidence in her tone. The moment the door closed, the room fell silent again. I sat by the bed, my shoulder aching faintly, but I knew clearly. I no longer had any expectations, and she still hadn't realized. This was far from over. Chapter 9. Evelyn truly began to panic after I submitted the separation agreement. Not divorce, just separation. I had my lawyer send it to her through the proper process. The content was simple: 6 months. Finances handled separately. Property left as is. No disputes. No emotional wording, just a calm, procedural document. For the first time, she didn't reject it immediately. That night, she didn't come to find me, but early the next morning, her car was parked downstairs at the company. She wasn't waiting for me. She was waiting for Sean. I only found out later that they talked for a long time in the underground parking lot that day. Evelyn had never liked bringing personal matters into the workplace, but that day, she even postponed a meeting. She asked Sean, "Did you already know he would leave?" Sean paused for a moment, then quickly regained his composure. "I just felt that your communication hasn't been very smooth lately," he said carefully. "You kept telling me to give him time." She stared at him. "I gave time, and he left." Sean was silent for a few seconds before speaking. "Some people just aren't suited for your current position." That statement hit her directly. "What do you mean?" she asked. "In your current state, you need someone who can always align with you," he said. "Not a partner who puts emotions first." She didn't argue, because that had been exactly how she had evaluated me over the past few years. After that day, her attitude toward Sean began to shift, becoming more urgent. She needed an explanation. She needed proof that she hadn't made the wrong choice. But Sean sensed something was off. He began to grow cautious. Fewer calls, fewer words. He no longer stayed late with her when she worked overtime, nor did he ask about her emotions like before. When she asked him out for meals, he always had reasons to decline. Once, twice, 3 times. Evelyn finally realized the balance of the relationship was changing. She couldn't help but ask, "Have you been avoiding me lately?" Sean smiled. "Of course not." "Then why don't you answer my calls?" "I've been busy," he said. That was a phrase she had said to me countless times. Now hearing it from someone else, it sounded unbearably harsh. She began to feel uneasy, not because of me, but because she realized that what she had lost might not just be a husband who waited for her at home, but also someone she had once believed she could control. Chapter 10. Sean's true stance showed after a project meeting. When the meeting ended, she asked him to stay. "Do you think I'm troublesome now?" she asked directly. He paused, not denying it immediately. "You haven't been in a good emotional state lately," he said. "I'm not very good at dealing with this." Those words made her heart sink. "You didn't say that before." She looked at him. "That was before," he said. "Things are different now." She stared at him, suddenly realizing something. Sean had never gotten close to her because of who she was. It was her position, her resources, the value she could provide at the time. Now that her emotions were becoming unstable, he began to pull away. She returned to her car and sat there for a long time. That day, she didn't go back to the office, nor did she go home. For the first time, she didn't know where to go. Meanwhile, I was organizing the last batch of documents. After the separation, I gradually handed over my projects at the company. I wasn't resigning, just minimizing unnecessary entanglements. Colleagues asked if I was transferring departments. I said, for now, no. They didn't ask further. I no longer worked late into the night, nor did I wait for someone to come home. Life became simple. Evelyn found me on a rainy night, without any prior notice. I had just gotten off work. My car hadn't even started when I saw her standing by the roadside. No umbrella. Half her clothes were soaked by the rain. Instinctively, I wanted to roll up the window, then stopped. She walked over and knocked on the window. I got out of the car. Why are you here? I asked. Her makeup was ruined. Her eyes red, not from crying, but from exhaustion after sleepless nights. I want to talk to you, she said. We've already talked. I said. This time is different, she said. I looked at her without speaking. She took a deep breath. Sean is being transferred. I nodded. I see. You're not going to ask why. She stared at me. That's between you two, I said. Her gaze became completely unsettled. He doesn't want to be involved anymore, she said. He said it's not good for him. I still didn't respond. Do you really feel nothing at all? Her voice trembled. I do, I said. A flicker of hope appeared in her eyes. I think it's completely normal, I added. That flicker died instantly. How can you be so calm? She nearly lost control. You weren't like this before. You weren't like this before either, I said. That sentence silenced her completely. The rain poured down heavily. She stood there, as if finally realizing that once certain things were lost, they would never come back. Have I really lost you? She asked softly. I didn't answer, not because I couldn't bear to, but because the question no longer held any meaning. She suddenly let out a laugh, a bitter, awkward one. So the companionship I thought I had only existed when I was needed, she said. This time, she was talking about herself. I opened the car door. It's raining hard. Go back. She didn't move. Matthew, she called out. If I start over now, will you still be standing where you were? I looked at her. The unease, panic, and belated clarity in her eyes were all real. But none of it could change anything now. You don't need me to stand there anymore, I said. She stood in the rain, not asking anything further. I got into the car. In the rearview mirror, her figure grew smaller and smaller. That night, she sat alone in her car, scrolling through her contacts, only to realize there wasn't a single number she could call without hesitation. And I returned to an empty room, turning off the lights. The world was quiet. I knew what she had lost was not just me, but that had nothing to do with me anymore. Chapter 11. During the time Evelyn started chasing after me, everything was quiet. It wasn't that she did nothing, it was that she was too restrained. She no longer suddenly appeared downstairs at my company, nor did she call late at night. She changed her approach, as if cautiously testing boundaries. The first thing that changed was her tone. Before, when she spoke, she was used to making conclusions first, then waiting for others to comply. Now, she began to ask, have you been busy with work lately? How's your shoulder recovery? These questions carried no emotion, no blame, like strangers who had just met. My replies were brief, sometimes just a single word. She didn't press further. A few days later, she sent me a message saying she had sorted out everything at home. If I needed anything, I could go back and take it anytime. I replied, no need. It took her a long time before she responded, okay. She began to frequently recall the past, not the sweet moments, but fragments so trivial that almost no one would remember them. Like the first time we traveled for work together, she got angry because of a delayed flight, and I stayed with her at the airport all night. Or when she had stomach pain, and I went out in the middle of the night to buy medicine. She had never mentioned these things before. Now that she did, it felt like she was trying to confirm whether those moments had truly existed. I read them, but didn't respond. Not out of deliberate coldness, but because those memories no longer carried weight for me. During that time, I changed my place, not exactly moving, just that my lease ended, and I found somewhere closer to the company. The new place wasn't big, but it had great sunlight. I began to keep a regular schedule, leaving work on time, occasionally going to the gym. My life gradually filled up. There was no place for her in it. Evelyn saw me near my new place. That day, I had just come out of a supermarket, carrying a bag. She stood by the roadside, as if she had been waiting for a long time. You moved? She asked. Yeah, I said. She looked at what I was carrying, then at me. You seem to be doing okay, she said. Not bad, I replied. That simple, not bad, made her expression stiffen. She had thought that without her, I would be doing terribly, but reality was the opposite. I can give you a ride, she said. No need, I said. She didn't insist. only walking alongside me for a while. We walked side by side, keeping a distance that was neither close nor far. Sean has officially transferred, she suddenly said. I nodded, offering no comment. I haven't contacted him again, she added. Got it, I said. She stopped walking and looked at me. You really don't care at all? I turned to look at her. There was obvious urgency in her eyes. Are you waiting for me to care? I asked. She didn't answer. At that moment, I realized clearly, what she was chasing wasn't me. It was the anxiety of losing control. Do you think that no matter what I do now, it's useless? She asked quietly. I thought for a moment, then gave the most honest answer. It's not useless, I said. It's just misplaced. Her breathing faltered. Then what should I do? She asked. She had never asked anyone that question before. I looked at her, not answering immediately. You don't need to do anything anymore, I said. Things have already reached this point. Her eyes gradually reddened. But I'm still here, she said. I know. I nodded. But I'm no longer where I used to be. After that day, she became more direct. She would wait for me after work, ask if I had time for a meal. She no longer negotiated, no longer reasoned. She simply showed up again and again. But showing up alone couldn't solve anything. Once, she stood downstairs at my place until very late. I went down to throw out the trash and saw her still there. You don't have to do this, I said. She looked up at me, her eyes filled with exhaustion. I just want to know if I can still get close to you, she said. You're already very close, I said. I'm just not stepping forward. That sentence left her completely silent. Sean exited completely during this period. After his transfer, he quickly changed his contact information and disappeared from her social circle. Evelyn tried contacting him once, there was no response. Only then did she truly realize. Some relationships, once they lose their value, disappear cleanly, and I was the only one she could still try to hold onto, but also the one she couldn't hold onto at all. She came to see me more and more frequently. I, however, became busier and busier. Not with work, with life. I began to have my own plans, no longer leaving time reserved for her. She realized that no matter when she showed up, I always had something else to do. Are you deliberately avoiding me? She finally asked. No, I said. I'm just not adjusting my plans for you. That sentence was more direct than rejection. She stood in front of me, as if all her strength had been drained. So you really can live without me, she said. Yes, I answered, without hesitation. That day, she didn't chase after me again. She stood there, watching me leave. I didn't turn back. I knew. She finally understood. This time, it wasn't a cold war. It was the end, and it was already in sight. Chapter 12. The last time I saw Evelyn was on a weekday afternoon. She sent me a message saying there were some documents that needed to be confirmed in person, related to the follow-up arrangements of the separation agreement. Her tone was purely businesslike, without extra emotion. I didn't refuse. We met at a tea house near the law firm. There weren't many people, and the soundproofing was good. She arrived earlier than me, sitting by the window, a stack of documents neatly placed beside her. When she saw me, she stood up. You're here, she said. I responded, sitting across from her. The waiter came to pour tea. She thanked them, her movements restrained and proper. Everything felt familiar, and yet unfamiliar. She pushed the documents toward me. These are the sections you need to confirm. If there's no issue, just sign. I flipped through them. The contents were clear, with no additional conditions. She hadn't tried to leave anything hidden in the terms. That surprised me a little. You reviewed this very carefully, I said. I don't want to make mistakes again, she replied. I nodded and picked up the pen to sign. At the moment the pen touched the paper, there was no emotional fluctuation. She watched me finish signing, then collected the documents, but didn't leave immediately. The tea house was quiet, with only the faint sound of water heating. Matthew. She suddenly called my name. I looked up at her. This is the last time we'll sit like this, she said. Not a question, a statement. Yes, I said. She fell silent for a moment, as if organizing her words. What are your plans going forward? She asked. She had never asked that before. Just living normally, I answered. She let out a faint smile. You've become very concise when you speak now, she said. There's no need to say much, I replied. She nodded, but didn't continue. After a while, she asked again, will you ever regret this? She had been holding that question in for a long time. I didn't answer immediately, not because I was hesitating, but because I needed to confirm whether my answer was true. No, I said. Her fingers curled slightly. Even if you're alone in the future, she pressed. I'm already alone now, I said, and I've adjusted just fine. She looked at me, and for the first time, a trace of helplessness appeared in her eyes. I used to think you couldn't live without me, she said. I thought so too, I replied. That sentence made her fall completely silent. She lowered her gaze to the table, as if staring at the wood grain, or at nothing at all. Do you know? She suddenly said. I've only realized now that I didn't lose you because you stopped loving me. I didn't respond. It's because I never learned how to hold on. She continued. Her voice was low, not tearful, but filled with exhaustion. I always thought